It's crazy. Well, you know what it is? It's like I hit the record button, right? You figured it would record, but that's not it. It can pops up a drop pop up menu, and you got to go. Do you want to record here? Do you want to record in the cloud? Do you want to record over there? And now I got it up there saying it's recording. But anyway, so the best part of it was is already over. But that's all right.
Ah, that's all right.
I ain't
You know,
worried.
I'm sure,
This is the
I'm
porkless
sure
beans. It would be better with pork.
porkless beans are always better with some pork. You know, so, but right now we're not having pork. So, Michael and I are going to try to continue to keep this going because
Hamburger,
we both
hamburger, hamburger.
feel hamburger. We want to give a place for people to share what it
Yeah,
is that's
that's
going
one of
on
the
with them.
great things about Pork and Bean Show is that Brian and I and everybody, we really strive to get people who were friends. They were interacted on a soul level, on a
Right,
friendship
right.
level, and because that's to me, that's really what it's all about. It's not this monsters in the woods. It's
Oh,
your paranormal friends just right outside. That's
yeah,
you know.
yeah, literally.
And it doesn't really matter if you have like a face-to-face encounter or somebody just left a little rock on your driveway or a
Oh, I
little rock on
know.
you. You know what I mean? It's
I know. Yes,
uh,
it is.
the same kind of a feeling going on there. You are looked after and you are loved and you are recognized and you are contacted. And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
enough of a story right there. You don't really
Oh,
need
it is. I just because I have lived for almost 70 years of knowing about them, it doesn't make my story any more valid than it does someone who's getting glyphs, someone who's getting rocks, someone who they're coming to them in the dream time. I mean, that's so special. And we just each have our own thing to share. And that's what's important that everybody share. And, it just lets us know, man, look at all of this growth of the human, that all of these things are happening. And, it makes me want to dance. So I
And
love that.
I will throw it in the people who just have the bug and they're watching videos and they're buying a
Mm,
book and maybe they're not really seeing anything, but they've got
yeah.
this energy inside them. I want to know, I want to feel something.
Hmm.
This is exciting. This is mysterious. This is something worthwhile investigating. It's something new, and I think that's okay too. That's like being introduced to a huge topic and if you're just at the phase of just watching videos and listen to speakers, and that's
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
that's
yeah.
pretty profound because that's the way it was. Well, no, I can't say that but yeah, just to be interested.
Oh, yeah, because there has to be that first step, that first feeling that there is something that we are feeling a pull to. And that's a special place too. I know Kashima had told me one time, I asked him about all of these people that are coming into this, that boom, they just start having all kinds of interaction with them. And I said, I've spent a lifetime of learning about this. And all these people, man, they've just boom and they're understanding it. And it's
Oh,
so awesome.
they're getting wisdom and downloads and
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
history lessons and stuff. Well, unbelievable.
And you know what he told me, I asked him, "Well, what's my place in this?" And he said, there are some of you that we consider elders. You are the ones who have taken the knowledge that you've been given through the years, and it becomes the wisdom that you carry, and you already know what these people are going through or are going to be going through. And it is your place to put yourself out there to be a helper, to plant seeds. And, we'll talk about the conference in a bit, but at the conference last weekend, I saw the evidence of seeds I had planted years and years ago that I had no idea about, which,
I'm feeling that one. I'm feeling that one because this whole pork and beans thing. I go back over to like the whatever there's I got 20 or 30 groups that I'm a part of. I don't really even visit those groups very much anymore, but when I do, it's like you can hear what people are saying, and you can hear that you can see their perspectives changing. There's no more ridicule about the woo. It's not, not
no,
because everybody's already into paranormal and the
yep,
UFOs and stuff, so that what I mean? So that's all changing, for the
yep.
better.
Oh, yeah, oh my gosh, it's like night and day from when I started in this. It's when I started in it, and most people who know me, it was dog eat dog. And if you even spoke out outside of that thought, then, both sides would get you. And,
And it'd be
I,
gang stalking. There'd be like 4 or 5 people get together and go, "Let's go
yes,
get this one. Let's go get that one." And it was like, you're like, "What?"
it, it's just amazes me at what people, the length that they went to. I know there were five or six that followed me from group to group. Um,
Yeah.
and there may only be one of them in there at the time I posted, and they would say something, and then boom, 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 they were all there, and they would get rather nasty. And of course, I was always respectful, no matter what they said to me. I'm never going to be disrespectful to anyone. I don't have to respect you, but I do have to respect myself. And so I have to be respectful in how, I answer them. And I learned that very early into this journey of being in, I call it Bigfoot dumb, not DUMB, but DOM. The people who are in this, be they researchers, experiencers, or, whatever. Um, I cannot be disrespectful to you. It is not in me. Now, that doesn't mean that thoughts don't come across my mind, but those thoughts get gone real fast. So that's all I know to do. Years ago, I was dubbed the Aretha Franklin of the Bigfoot world because they heard respect so much. But that's okay too. I mean, I like that.
Yeah. I like that. And I think even some of the big names. Who's the guy with the Sierra Sounds? What's his name again?
Ron Moorhead.
Ron Moorhead. Yeah, that
Uh-huh.
guy is just a phenomenal because it's like his communication doesn't say it so much with words, but this guy never disappoints anybody. He always shows up,
Yep.
and I
He's
watched
a
his
good guy.
and I watched
He's a
his
good guy.
evolution because I actually introduced him before he wrote his book, the Quantum Bigfoot or whatever it was. Is
Mm-hmm.
that what it was?
Yep.
Quantum Bigfoot. And it was from before. That was back in whatever 2013 or 2014,
Yep.
and he's just matured and kind of blossomed and polished. He's such a gentleman.
Yeah.
But
He's always been a gentleman. I met him many years ago, and he and Scott Nelson. I met both of them. Of course, Scott Nelson is the Navy linguist
Oh yeah.
who heard the Sierra sounds and said, wait a minute, this is a language. This is not just sounds being made. And then he was in contact with Ron Moorhead, and um, Scott did a lot of work on the Sierra sounds. I know several years ago, I'd done audio blue and indigo. And in that audio, blue is making all this noise. Now I'm in my tent, and they know when I get ready to go to sleep, they need to leave me alone because I want to go to sleep unless it's real important. So I was listening, and you hear the standard pecking on the recorder, other stuff, going on, and then you hear what Scott Nelson had named a snarl growl. And he had studied it through the Sierra sounds, where it was a concessionary uh, reaction. In other words, when they heard it, it was something of a concessionary response. Well, in the audio that I have, it's used as something to get them to be quiet. So it wasn't only a concessionary sound, it was used as something in another way. And we had listened to that. I sent it to Scott, and I told him what was going on. Blue was making all this noise while I was trying to go to sleep and doing things. And Indigo does this. And so it was like he was telling Blue to stop it. Don't make so much noise. And then at the very end of the audio, you hear Indigo kind of half whisper, "Be quiet." And so that was how I knew for sure that that wasn't a concessionary thing. It was something that he was saying, you need to be quiet. It was a reprimand and not concessionary. So there again, when we're speaking about language of any kind, you got to look at context of what's going on. Could that same sound be used in two different ways? Yes. We use words in different ways all the time. So I always thought, it was interesting how they've shown so many times through the years that when they're speaking, whether it's a glyph or whatever, context of what's going on takes a glyph and makes it something else.
Do you still have the recording of that?
I do. I don't know where it's at right now, but I do. And we'll have to do a show with some recordings. I at the conference this past weekend, I hosted or had it on my speaking a recording I took excuse me, in 2011, and it has them speaking English. And Barb Shute did this awesome thing with it and took it and put some photos and everything with it, and then marked who was saying what during that. So at some point we'll have that on the show and talk about that. But a few people have heard it in very private groups, but I don't think that I've ever put it out there publicly for people to listen to. I could have, and I don't remember it. 2011 is a long time ago, but they do speak English.
I wanted to remind everybody that you actually were one of the first persons I've ever heard of in the world that recorded a fairy.
Oh yeah,
You
I have
record,
my
and that was amazing. I helped you try to like boost up the volume
yeah,
on that thing. You and I still have a little bit of like discord about what you heard and what I heard. But even so, how amazing is that?
yeah, yeah. Well, being there and knowing the situation, and of course that's exactly what I heard, um, was look up at me. And I had been looking up at the young hawk, excuse me, for, well, since I guess he was hatched out, and I knew that there was a little hawk in that nest right by the cabin. I hear the fairies talk the same as little people, and the Bigfoot people, and other things. But a lot of things are mind speak as well. And so, or you just have this knowing that that's being said. So, but yeah, it's kind of fun uh, to get those audios. I don't get them to try to make people believe anything. I just do it because I love to go back over, and listen to it.
Yeah, the other thing is we talk about things that are kind of remarkable, or impressive. But and I've had a lot of remarkable things happen to me. But
Mhm.
I gotta spread it out over whatever it's been, 12 or 15 years, and you gotta spread it out over 70 years. So you got all these great stuff, but if you actually sprinkle it out over 70 years,
It's
there's
a
a lot of
lot.
not much going on in between.
Yeah, it's a lot. For me, stuff happens. I mean, something happens every day, whether it's the hairy kids or whomever. I've been mowing a lot, trying to keep up with all the grass. And yesterday I mowed, and I'm mowing, and the lawnmower, it's a push mower, and it's loud, and I hear one of the hairy kids whistle at me. Now, how could I hear that over that lawnmower? And it happened twice yesterday. And I already knew that they were around because they left the leaf pushed up into the threshold after I'd been outside. So, but those kinds of things, you can't hear anything but the lawnmower, and you hear them whistle. My grandson-in-law they were splitting wood, and that splitter's loud, and he heard them whistle over the splitter noise. So, how does that happen? That happens because they make it happen. So that's kind of a cool thing too.
I'm talking to this guy, John Gazawa. Gazawa, you ever heard of that guy? John Ghazzawawi. Gazawa.
I It sounds familiar,
He's
but
been around a long time, actually.
uh-huh. Hmm.
Um, but he's one of the other him, me, and Sam. He was initiated by by his Sasquatch into
Mm-hmm.
the white light meditation or heart
Mm-hmm.
light
Yeah.
meditation. And he's been doing that for years, and I've been over here doing it for years. And so I just
I
invited him
know.
to come on the show today. I don't know if he will, but
That that's
that's
cool
it's
too.
phenomenal that that's happening
Yeah.
because this is like guru level, highest high
Yes.
human being stuff to
Yep.
just for the Sasquatch to transfer energy from them to you into
Yes.
your living essence, which is your life force, and increase
Yep.
that so that you can actually meditate.
Oh,
That's
yes.
phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah. And
And I'm
that's
sure they've
the,
done it to shamans, to healers all around the world.
that's the thing about sharing. How are we going to know what's going on out there if we're the only one that it's happening to? And I don't believe that that's how it is. I believe that things that people share are happening to a lot of people. And that's the cool thing again about sharing. And that's one thing we hope to do with Pork and Beans, the group, even though it's an open group. The admins really make sure that someone's not being disrespectful to someone who shares. I don't have a problem booting someone out if they're being disrespectful to someone who has shared their experience. In my mind, if that's what they're going to do, then the Pork and Beans group is not a place where they would need to be. And that, we're Michael and I are just going to try to continue what was started with the podcast. Um, and
Yeah, and
I,
we're kind of relaxed about it. You know,
yeah,
it is a lot of work to have a weekly
yeah.
show. Um, or a lot of people do times. Some people do like 3 times a day for
Oh, I
two.
know.
It's just I don't know how they do it.
I'm thinking we shoot for twice a month and we'll see how it goes. But I'm super excited about the show being back on, and so many people have expressed they've missed it. Do they always make the live broadcast? No, but it's out there where they can go look at it and see what happened. I know I watch a podcast after the fact a lot.
Well, there's so
And
many, when we
yes.
started out Pork and Beans, there was only like about 4 or 5 live shows. Now there's probably 25 or 30 live shows
Oh,
going.
yeah. Um,
And good for them, big ups. Like if they got
yeah.
enough material, enough people.
Yep. And the thing about it is there are so many now that I want to watch. It's not that I feel like I have to watch. I want to watch these podcasts. I'm not, well, I don't watch uh gloom and doom or scary stuff. I don't need to watch that. I mean, it's what you feed your mind is what your mind believes. And so you have to be very careful what you put in that mind.
Did you ever watch this guy Steve Isdall from the How to Hunt guy?
I have watched him a couple of times, I think.
What I love about that guy, I get frustrated as hell because this guy, but I get frustrated because I said, "Hey, Sasquatch know this guy. He's been hunting out there since he was 10 years old. They know who he is. They know everything." And it's like, and he's like, "This is a mystery. Everybody should know this." And he's like, he's dedicated his life to the Sasquatch people, and at the same time, he's like, they're whatever it is. He has this kind of like uh, put off kind of a thing,
Yeah.
like they're intruding on our hunting and whatever. He got this guy on live, right? So he's face to face. He just started doing this face to face, and this guy had just started. Um, this guy, wasn't really such a big researcher, but he's like one of these people, like you said, who just that just fell on him, and so he's getting this master teacher, talking to him in his head, and 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 he's explaining this story to Steve, sort of in this live setting. And then the guy was saying the guy was talking, the Sasquatch was talking in his head, and he stopped right in the middle because he knew he was going to go. He knew of Steve and his whole show with thousands of people and everything, right? So he just the idea of Steve Isdall went through his head, and the Sasquatch like that said, Steve Isdall, he's a protector. We know him. He's a good, you know what I mean? It's like they started talking about Steve Isdall. It's like they've known him his whole life, you know, and they have that. It's like they respect him and all this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking like this guy, man, you know, you can't. I don't even if you don't like Sasquatch, if you play the game long enough, they're going to touch you.
Yes.
They're going to
Yep.
reach out and touch you somewhere, and it's got to, and you got to change because
Yep.
that's
Yep. Exactly. You know, you said it, you got to change. I have people tell me that they don't believe that the Sasquatch will go to people who are bad. And I beg to disagree with that. Now, will they continue working with them if they can't release some of the things that they release? I believe that they would, as long as they see that chance that this person can come to that point. They're not going to totally abandon them. They may back off for a little while, but who better to come to than someone who really needs what it is that they have to teach us? Um, so it's not my place to say who can or who can't, have the Sasquatch be there and interact with them. I know a lot of stories where they were in positions and they didn't just back out on those people. I mean, if you do that, then what's your message really about?
yeah. Then also, well, I don't. I think the Sasquatch definition of what's evil or bad may be different than ours.
Yeah. And they want to reach us. You know, they do teach the choir of of people who are out there. They continue to teach you if you stay open and with an open heart. Um, but they want to reach everybody. They care about us. They came here before humans did to be here and to be ready to help us, and they continue to do that. I've seen so many people through the years who shifted their paradigm, opened that heart, and oh my gosh, their life really changed in such a wonderful way.
We got a great comment by this guy named Poppy Good. You ever heard of him?
Oh,
Huh?
I see Poppy post. Yes,
Yeah, you want to read that? Can you read that?
I can't.
Oh,
I can't see anything but
oh, that's
you.
right. You're working on a little postage stamp. Yeah. Bobby Good said, if it wasn't for the Pork and Bean Show, which I've been power watching for the past couple of months on YouTube, I wouldn't have a clue as to how to go about connecting the Sasquatch dots. I was a toddler, blew my mind. This was the first show that got my attention because you don't speak about the monsters, but of our friends and neighbors. So there's more to it. Somebody
Oh,
can go back
thank
to his
you,
name.
Poppy. That's awesome. We really appreciate you saying that because that's exactly what we've hoped to do with this. Brian and Michael, they did. That was what they wanted. They wanted to have a place to help with what the Sasquatch are teaching and showing so many. And we really appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that's the sweetheart side of it is it's just to feel that connection because when somebody who's really connecting to Sasquatch, our heart opens when we hear about it. My heart is
Yes,
like,
it
wow, look at that guy. He's
does.
getting that what do you
Yes.
call it? That what is it when you have the romance with
The love zap. That's what Tot calls it. It's the love zap. You you get that feeling. It's just a knowing and such a wonderful thing. And to then what happens, like with Poppy, he's planting seeds too now. And so we've got more and more that, are planting those seeds, regardless of if we're ever going to know that they grow in a good way.
yeah, there's just a lot to it. Like for me, I don't feel like I have to be the top of
Mm-mm.
the Bigfoot food chain, the Mr. Know-it-all. Actually, there's so much I don't know, and I've just been given grace after grace, and can only
No.
talk about the stuff that I've been given. Um, but I don't really go out in the woods that much. I walk around my house, and I'm friends with um, these cranes that are living there, and the birds and the squirrels, and you know, it's just walking around the neighborhood. It's not like you know,
It's all
I go
neighbors.
out adventuring. You're walking around your neighborhood too. That's your neighborhood walking
Yes, it
down to the
is.
creek or wherever you
Yes, it
go.
is.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
the land that you live on.
Yeah. And you're right. It doesn't matter if you've got a yard in a housing subdivision or even an apartment. If there's a yard or something that you can get out and walk in, or even a city park, all of these places bring us back to who we are. When we connect with that, whether it's a blade of grass or a giant tree, it doesn't make any difference. It's the same energy that lets us know, this is a neighbor, this is a relative. And that's the important thing, is to recognize those relatives.
Yeah, and the Sasquatch they can reach you. They don't. It doesn't really matter because when I was a
Mm-mm.
lot of my early experiences with the Sasquatch people, I was living in the second floor of an apartment building. It's a walk-up apartment building kind of a thing. And I got that stones thrown at throw on the window, and um, really the first few months, there was some kind of mischievous Sasquatch would come by at about 3 o'clock in the morning and just really lightly tap the door, and he would do it every night for about 3 or 4 nights. So it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I could hear it, but he was running. He had to go up the stairs, slap on the door, and then run down the other hallway. It was great fun.
It is.
And I'm in the suburbs on the edge of a black thing in a black neighborhood, and there's things like tree breaks. There was tree breaks there, right? And there was this one time they put tree breaks out. It was like across the street was the neighbors were across the street was just like a regular single family ranch style regular.
Mhm.
The Sasquatch threw a big Y branch. I mean, the thing was this big, big around, it was big. I threw a Y branch over the telephone wires in this guy's backyard. And you could only see it from my apartment looking over his roof to see the wires. If you walked around the street, you couldn't see it. Things like that just went on and on and on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, the dream time is such a special place now because we're easy to contact in the dream time. And we take things much easier in the dream time. Normally, there's not a fear that's in that time. And so they are coming to people in the dream time. Oh my gosh, so much. And I heard someone say in one group that, it's not real if they're coming to you in the dream time. And I have to disagree with that. It's very real. And
Maybe more real
it's,
than what we're doing here.
yeah,
Maybe.
that's the thing, they're going to come to us in whatever way they can that we accept. Now, of course, mine came so early in life that I rarely ever dream of them. But, and it's not like I don't have to dream, it's just they don't use the dream time, to talk to me. Now, that's a different story with the ancestor grandmothers, but, and I would love to dream about them too. It's just, that that's not how they connect with me. And, I love to hear Dreamtime stories because some of them are just so wonderful in what they see and what they feel. I
Yeah,
think we ought to have a show on the
huh?
Dreamtime dreams at
That would be
some
good if you
point.
had some people who were like up
Mm-hmm.
into it. I'd love that.
Yeah.
The dream time. You know, this life is just pretty amazing. I was thinking of the other day, actually yesterday. I was thinking because I went to go talk to the school board of Savannah, just because I wanted to see if they could get into this program, this thing that, and I went in one ear and out the other, but it was like I gave it the old college try. But I was thinking, these people are like, they're very like nuts and bolts, and they're very loving, kind people, very intelligent people. But I was thinking, I'm in a different world than they are. And just recently in our lifetime, we have absolute understanding that the truth of the reality is we are uh, immortal. We do not die. And the reason why we know that is because about 5 million people have had near death experiences. About
Right.
half of them talk about it or remember it and talk about it. And there's like 400 or so books, maybe 500 books on afterlife and the near death experience. You know what I mean? And it's like we do not die. There is no die. There's just a continuation.
Right.
And then the other
Just a
thing is,
change.
yeah. And then the other thing is, um, we're infinite. A lot of people
Yeah.
can't quite wrap their head around being infinite, but we have these senses, right? That's clairaudience, clairsentience. We have these senses, right? But also, there's a lot of videos, a lot of understanding the whole history of remote viewing. And this remote viewing is these people sit in a room and get fed ideas in code to go investigate something, but it doesn't say what is just a number ABC 1 2 3, and then these people in different parts of the United States get this task, and then they go somewhere in their imagination, in their energy field, and they report what they found. Now the thing is that you can go any place in time or space. You can go past Egypt. You can go to the land of Pan, or you could go off to planet to another galaxy or whatever. What I mean? And these guys are coming back and they're drawing pictures and they have, and
Mhm.
it's all like that. And I'm saying, how can they do that? How can you go to any point in time and space? Well, remote viewing isn't remote and it's not viewing.
Oh,
Remote viewing is a feeling inside. And that only way you could get information back from all over the universe is if you were already there. That means we are infinite and
mm,
immortal, and we emerge from what was never created.
yep.
So, and this is a big shift. This has only happened in our lifetime since the internet,
Yes.
you know. And here's the thing. Here's an interesting thing that I think it was Carl Jung wrote something about that. He said, healing healing is a something like a parade of small humiliations. And I'm thinking there's a truth to that. Because what are we doing here with this crazy world? It's humiliating a lot of the stuff that's happening. It's like, oh, I would never do a world like that. I would never form a government like that. I would never treat people like that. It's like and and why? Why are you humiliated? Because there's something inside us that's noble. There's something inside us that knows more, that knows better, that is beyond. And that's what the Sasquatch ignite. That's what the Sasquatch sees. There's something there inside of each human being. We're not just this
Mm,
storyline of the character on the stage. No, we're the whole deal.
yeah. That, and that grasping that is such an awesome thing. I mean, even if you look at some of the religions of the world, and I'm saying religions, not spirituality, they even talk about that there is life after this earth. And so death is just the doorway to walk through to the continuation of you. Kashima calls it your primal seed, and that comes at the birth point of you, your soul, your being, your infiniteness, and all of the things that you, as this seed, have experienced in multiple dimensions, multiple lives, however you want to come to that, is a part of that seed. And so within that seed is held the growth of who you are. And so when that seed gets cracked open, then you begin to totally understand who you are. Whether you really can put it into words or not, you know. And it's that knowing that gives you such a peace. And for me, it's an excitement of seeing all the wondrous things that comes from connecting to that space.
And we're already connected. So, just this is the
Mhm.
blossoming of the awareness of the connection that's already
Yes.
there.
Yep. It's there. And and that's why the grandmothers, the ancestor grandmothers had told me years ago, you got all the answers. All you need is a question, because those answers are inside you. They are a part of you for everything. And you can say, well, that came from a prior life, or that came from another dimension or reality that I'm living. And I really like talking about that, because those are things you just didn't talk about or say to people uh, just a few years ago. But the truth is, oh my gosh, we are such wondrous beings that are here. And everybody has their own level of something to learn. And that doesn't mean it's a higher or a lower level. It's just that teaching that you needed. And in their teaching, we are taught as well. And that's hard for people to understand with so many things that are going on in the world. There's a Cherokee word, and I probably won't say it right. It's a long word. Um, but it was something our language, Cherokee language, uh, teacher taught us, and it's de Dios a la de heste. And that means hold one another up. It doesn't mean I get to pick and choose who I hold up. I've got to hold everybody up because everybody is connected to me. And in doing that, holding others up, no matter what they've done, I still have to, or I don't even have to, I want to send that peace and love to them in their life, no matter what they've done. um, I'm still going to send that to whomever. That's what I know to do.
Well, one of the things you said a little while ago was about um, the question. You know, you need a good question, and
Hmm?
I look at the soul. I have a different word for the soul. I call the soul will, the will polarity. The will is the female polarity of the universe, and it is both our soul and the universe itself. But the qualities of the will, the divine will, or I will, is to will, to wish, and to wonder. You know what I mean? And when you wonder, that is a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is the and it is like this, it's always about more. I will to more, I wish for more, and I wonder about more. And
Yeah.
that is like the fabric of the universe herself, is to have
Mm-hmm.
good questions and to have that yearning. And that's really what the Sasquatch thing for the human participants, that's really what it's about. What the wonder, the questions, what is it? And even the researchers, they want to know. You know, they're driven by that. I mean, they're crazy. Some people lost their wives and stuff and lost their
Yeah,
jobs
they
because
have.
they're crazy because they want to know.
Yeah. And and within themselves they already know. It's just that mind steps in and begins to block or change what it is you want to know. And I think that for me, I've always been uh, a person who just accepted what was happening, and knew that there was a reason for those things to happen. But yet I still had the big why. Why? Why does this happen? And the answers to that are many, 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 many. But I do believe that in that, looking at it, if you can open up your heart and look at whatever it is, that answer is right there. Um, you just accepting what it is that that you're given, and gratitude plays a big part in that acceptance. Just having the gratitude, being thankful for even understanding in a little way. And, I don't have the ability at this point to answer all the questions, but I do answer what I am led to answer. And that's the only way that, I can do what it is I feel that I'm supposed to be doing.
That's an amazing place to be. There's this thing been going around for years about a pole shift and about like the sun's gonna burp and just gonna blow the whole Earth off its axis, and
Hmm.
it goes on. They go on. And there's a lot of people who really believe in that, and I'm at the point where, okay,
Yes. Yes.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
You should be prepared.
Yep.
No, no, I'm not
Yep.
going to be prepared. If it happens, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Be whether you prepare or not prepare, and also it would be a good thing if that was the way we go. If that's our destiny, it would be a good thing.
Oh,
because there would be Mother Earth herself and the father's son working out some kind of a way
yeah.
to, pull the weeds in the garden or whatever you want to call it. And it would be good for everything if that was what was happening, you
Oh
know?
yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I've always said I'm not a chicken little. I'm not a conspiracy person, and I'm not a chicken little running around saying the sky is falling. The sky is falling. If the sky falls, then I'll deal with it. Then I know that I have the understanding to deal with it in the way that it needs to be done for me. So, and that's the thing, when we get into all this stuff, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, we manifest exactly what happens in our life. And that's a hard thing to grasp, that we're not asking for those things, but by choices we are presented with things to look at, like with the wreck that Matthew and I were in. We nearly lost our lives. Uh, and, I'm not as mobile as I used to be because of that. But I can tell you thing after thing after thing that was a blessing from that wreck. And so I have to look at that and say, well, so what? I can't carry a 100-pound tow sack of feed or even drag it at this point. And I can't hike like I used to. And I love that. But I can do something else. And the things that were so wonderful that were brought to us from that far outweigh any
Oh,
of the
yeah.
things that I can't do um, anymore. I just, I'm just amazed. And I have to remember that Matthew and I had been asking the universe to get us off the road. Matthew's body was just literally giving out on him. And I went on the road with him to help him because I was still healthy and could do all of these things. And yet we knew his time was very limited. And so we asked the universe to help us get off the road. Well, we got off the road. We weren't really specific. We were just leaving it to the universe. But through that, it got us off the road. We were able to come back home and resume a wonderful life here on this land that I never thought, would happen. It During that time in the hospital after that, they found the nodule on my lung. They watched it, said it needed to be watched. It became cancer, and they it was like within that given 6 months time of CT scans that changed and became cancerous. They took that out. Had it not happened for the wreck, I would have never known that nodule was there. And from what the doctor said, that could have grown and got to a point where it was really bad, and I would never know it until that point, and that's just two things that happened because of something that looked like it was horrendous. And so we've got to get to that place where we can look for those wondrous things that happen, no matter what those things are. And sometimes it's hard, to find those things. But if you open your heart, things will come to you to show you that, there is something to be thankful for everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a maturity to it too, because we spend a lot of time in our earning years that's we're under pressure to get the job done, to get the food on the table, to get, kids back and forth and whatever kind of stuff is going on in our life. And actually it's kind of a luxury to be fearless.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, I
And,
do.
and to say, well, none of that stuff really matters. I mean, your kids are hungry, the dog's hungry, everybody's hungry,
Yeah,
so you got to feed them. But it's a nice lifestyle to not have panic or to not have um, turmoil because of the
right.
situation that you're in. It's
Yeah.
real
And,
great,
we want our kids fed. We want our kids and ourselves healthy. And, we've gotten outside that point of just us being taken care of too. You're not going to change my lifestyle to whatever. And so having that knowing that it's all um, okay. And yes, we are infinite. And yes, gratitude is something that I believed we have a lot within us. We just have to acknowledge those things.
well, I think you're right on the button. And this thing about gratitude, right? Well, gratitude is what? It's a feeling inside, right?
Yep.
Misery is a feeling inside.
Yes.
Um, Greatness. If you're out gardening, you can feel great about gardening. If you're painting, you can feel great about painting. It's a feeling inside. Your greatness is not a comparison to to somebody else.
Yep.
It is
Yep.
the feeling that you get while you're doing what you're doing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, totally. Every year when I garden, I would I do my complain, oh my gosh, why didn't I work out more before I started all this bending over? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? And then it's just like, I am so blessed to be able to do this. And for me, for sure, because the first year after the wreck, I put a little garden in, and oh my gosh, that gratitude was there just to be able to do it in whatever way that I had to do, to do it. So, and that's gratitude, just the simpleness of every morning being in that gratitude for waking up. Just that thing. I'm awake, I'm breathing, I'm
This
living.
is again, takes maturity to do this because
Yes, it
we
does.
believe in despair. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
I agree.
We
It's
believe in despair, and it's,
Yep.
oh man, it's life so hard, and I just can't struggle. I can't go on like this, and that's depression, and that's suicidal stuff. This life is not worth living, and that's what people feel. That's a feeling inside, and
Yep.
and it doesn't let them reach to gratitude or reach appreciation or joy or peace. You know what I mean? Which are all feelings inside. They're your feelings,
Yep.
and they're not necessarily connected to the world.
Yeah.
Because the suicide person is not connected to the reality of this world.
No,
The
not at
person
all.
feeling grateful is not connected to the reality of this world. You're
No.
not, if you're feeling grateful, you are not connected to this world of reality.
Yep.
You're connected to your feeling of being grateful.
Yeah. It
And that
comes from
changes the world.
within. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have all kinds of things and think that you're being grateful that you have it. But if that gratefulness didn't come from within you, it's an exterior thing that you have put in place to justify all of these things, I guess, that you have. Um, but just that basic gratefulness of waking up in gratitude. And when you do that, you shine that out to the whole world. I mean, whether you're sending it out to the world, you are emanating that out to the world, and other people are feeling that. So if we had one day in this whole world where every person felt that gratitude that comes from within, oh my gosh, I can't even begin to imagine how wonderful, that would
And
be.
to break, okay, this is what a point I'm trying to get to break, to make a separation between you and the reality,
Yep.
right? Because the gratitude, like I often uh, try to evoke the feeling of this is the greatest day ever. And I can evoke that feeling of this is the greatest day ever. It has nothing to do with the reality. It has, and
Nope.
because I'm gapped from it, I want to feel that it's the greatest day ever.
Yes.
I want to
Yep.
feel gratitude, and I want to feel supported and taken care of by the universe.
Yes.
And it's
Yep.
like that to make that, we think our thoughts are ours and we think our feelings are ours, but there needs to be a little gap between the reality and that feeling and the reality and the idea. And that gap is
Yeah.
where you can
I-
have peace and you can have
Yep.
tranquility and you can have, uh, the water rolls off the duck's back, you know,
Yep. Exactly. And the Sasquatch bring that to us. They are such masters
masters.
at bringing it to us in subtle ways, in your face ways, in whatever way that we need it. It's just right there. All you have to do is open your heart and accept that. I mean, I life is just too cool. And I know when I see you post that in our one little admin group, it just always makes me smile. And I know that that good feeling and that smile, I'm sending that out as well to others. And at sending it out to others, you're sending it to yourself. So it's like this wondrous circle of sharing all this, with others. So,
Coastal Chick she just wrote, "Hi, Coastal Chick, love you." Uh,
hey,
she just wrote, "The energy you put out creates your reality."
yes, it does. She's so right. Yeah, that's and that reality is just the most wondrous thing uh when you get to that place. If you're grumpy all the time and you're just not happy with the way things are going, that's what you're going to get stuck in. That's where your life's going to be. But if you can let that grumpiness go and then begin to see just the joy of just being alive, and especially in this time now, then your world will begin to change. It is just that simple.
Yeah, and it's you're right, and it's like you said earlier at the beginning of, I don't know whether I recorded it or not. What a funny thing. This is pork and beans. Remember that? How long did it take to actually get the recording? With I was maybe 20 minutes or something before it actually recorded.
uh,
But I forgot what I wanted to say. That was um,
you'll get it.
it was something
It's
that you were saying earlier about. Um, anyway, what a nice
it,
conversation.
it'll come back.
Oh, I was talking
I,
about being infinite, right?
Mm,
when you talk about beaming out to everybody, remember what I was saying that if we're infinite, and how do you know that you're infinite? Because when you do remote viewing, it's not remote, it's not viewing, it's just
right.
feeling inside. So if we're already connected to the whole universe, when we feel gratitude, when we feel um, taken care of, when we feel loved, you know, within inside of us, that is the universe. Because we're connected to the
Yes.
whole. That is the universe.
Yes. Yes. You know, we are co-creators of everything. We are all creating this life, and coming to that co-creators, that's one of the things where we gravitate to people who have and it's more than like-minded, it's like heart. It's, if like-hearted is a word, I guess it could be. um those are the people that you began to gravitate to. Those are the people that hold you up, that you share that same energy. And that's like the thing Kashima told me a long time ago, um was when I came into this, do not judge as good or bad. Ask yourself, am I compatible with this? And if I'm not compatible with it, then just take myself from it. I don't have to moan and groan about all of this. I just take myself from it. And then those that I am compatible with energetically, it does not mean belief that I have to believe everything someone says to be compatible with them. This is totally an energetic heart thing of being compatible energetically with someone else. And, that comes about as just accepting yourself, respecting yourself, and looking at others with that love. That it just comes. It's like it's just there, and that's pretty cool.
Well, again, I'm kind of fascinated by this little gap between our feelings inside and the
Hmm.
reality outside, or the illusion outside, whatever you want to call it. And this is one of the things that the Sasquatch are really, really good at, and that is love doesn't have really a language. It
Hmm.
is, but if you feel the love for your dog, your cat, or your husband or wife, or if you feel the love for Sasquatch, uh, it it it's not quality, it's just the quantity. It's the same love. The love is love, and in any language, in any species, and what a powerful teaching that is. It is they're willing to teach us about just love because,
Yes.
and
Yep.
we don't understand them. We don't even see them, and yet we can feel love, and that same love can be felt for our dog or our ponies or our husband or our ancestors or whatever. But to me, that's like what that universal um, feeling
Yep.
that connects everything.
Yep. And I do believe we were created out of love. I don't believe that we were created out of hate or anything else, that the basis for our creation was love. And, we can get into that further some other time. But just sharing that love, with others. The things I want people to say about me when I am not Arla anymore at this point. I guess I'll always be Arla, but not the Arla
You'll
that
always
you're
be all on
watching.
the pork and bean show.
Yeah.
Who knows
Is
how long that
that,
stuff's going to last? I hope it lasts for like a few hundred years, but it could be gone in 10 years for all we know. There may be AI will come and gobble up everything.
And if it does, we'll deal with it when it does, or we won't.
We'll just make better
I mean,
videos. They'll be
that's
better.
the
They'll be even better back then. Because I've changed a lot. And, in the last, since 2012, when I was introduced to the Sasquatch people, I've changed a lot. My life has actually gotten better. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And I'm not the one going out walking in the woods, but just
doesn't matter.
wanting to know. And, they confuse me till no end about no space. And I had to look at no space. I had to think about no space. I had to do research in quantum physics. They had to give me clues about no space. That was 2 years that, of looking and thinking about it. Um, but now I'm thinking that's probably the fundamental reality is that there is no time, there is no space, there's just feelings of now and love.
That's Greg Braden uses that. No, not Greg Braden. I can see him, but I can't call his name. Joe Dispenza. He says, in his meditations and things, there are no time, no space. And then, he tells you to picture that part of your body, uh, in space. And then it's that whole thing of connecting in no space and all space, because it's all the same. There's really, no difference there. And that is such a freeing thought, is to understand that, even though it may not be put into words uh, in an
Well,
exact manner.
one of the side effects of no space is this. I'm going to reveal a great mystery about the Sasquatch people. You ready? Maybe we should.
Bring it on.
It's coming. This people say that this whole thing out there about Sasquatch live about 65 years like humans do. Sasquatch live 200 years because of this and that. Sasquatch lives 10,000 years. So it's like every, you know, there's all these different ways of looking at it about how old Sasquatch is. But I'm pretty much convinced that they're all true
Yeah,
because Sasquatch, if a Sasquatch spends a lot of his time in no space, he could be 10,000 years old, and
that's right.
and then if he steps back into this reality, it's like nothing's ever changed. So that's another great teaching. It took a long time to kind of wrap my head around that because people who are like, I've talked to Sasquatch, they told me that they live 65 years. And another one says, I've talked to Sasquatch and they say they live about 150 years and they swear by it. I mean, that's the way it is. I'm
Yeah,
thinking, no, I'm not
that's the
sure
way
that
it
that's
is.
not,
It's their reality. It's what they've created. And that was something that Kashima taught me a long time ago, too, is that we do create our reality with them. And so for me to tell someone that what they have shared is wrong would be wrong for me to do, and I wouldn't do it. I'm not going to tell you that if you say they only lived to 65, that you're wrong. I'm not going to tell you you're right. I'm just going to say, this is what you believe. And I've seen that happen so many times through the years, that what they believe, the people, and what they can accept, if they can't keep their heart open and release things that really have no purpose in our higher person, then we're going to stop at that point. And that's, what we're going to bring to the community. And that's not wrong at all, for them to bring that. What I believe is totally what I understand from this. And I don't tell anybody that knows me, I've never told anybody they got to believe like I do. And because that's just not the truth of it. So we can either open and maybe learn more, or we can stay within what it is that we believe. And that works on so many levels for so many things, not just what the Sasquatch people are. So, yeah,
Well,
I gotta
I
tell, I
feel
gotta,
encouraged today. I feel like I'm being supported on my, what would you call this? The debut or something? Some kind of name for it.
it's the
What is it?
premiere.
The comeback kid.
Yeah. uh, with the mall cobbler or the peach cobbler or the what and the beans just wouldn't leave it alone. Uh, and actually, this was Brian's idea for us to do this because
He
he
said that,
knew.
he said, I hope you broke a leg. And then he said, that means, is good.
Well, we can talk about him now, and he's not here, but he will have the ability to find out at a later point. But I want to share something that happened at the conference this past week. I
Oh, yeah,
spoke
yeah,
at
I forgot.
the Cailleach Mountains Bigfoot Conference. Oh gosh, it was awesome. No matter what you wanted to hear about in the Sasquatch world, there were speakers there that presented it from one end of the spectrum to the other. It was awesome. Everybody got along. Nobody had a problem with what the others were bringing. There was just a camaraderie of people who had come together. But the thing that happened, there were two things that happened that totally fed my heart because it let me know that seeds I had been planting were growing in a good way. The first one was a young woman named Julie. I'm not sure she's even on Facebook, but she found me and bought my books and read them, and then began to look for me um, on YouTube and different places. She knew enough about me that she brought me a pair of flip flops. So I was like, that's pretty cool. I really like that. And she had such an open heart and a need to share all the wonderful things that were happening. And of course, she thanked me for from the beginning talking like I did. I just all I knew to do was to share my experiences. And then there was another young man. His name was Habib. Uh, he was from the Dallas Fort Worth area, which I think is probably where he was 4.5 hours or something. And he found out I was going to be at the conference. And the way he found out was I was on a podcast and I had my t shirt on from last year's Bigfoot conference there in Oklahoma. And he began to search and he listened that we were going to have another one, and he was so excited. And he said, I have watched you since I was 17 years old. I found you I used to do a podcast on Blog Talk Radio, and that was I think I started in 2010 doing that. And he said, I heard you then. I've looked for you. I found out you had books. I bought your books, and I just go on YouTube and look for podcasts and things that you're on. you've, made such a difference in my life. From the beginning, you spoke like my heart felt. At 17, he started this, and he's 29 now, I think he said, almost 29. He said, never in my life did I think I would ever get to actually see you. And that just, because what he was saying was, I get to see a seed I planted and it's grown. And what a wonderful, loving, caring young man this was. It, it's why I do what I do. Um, and those types of things, when you do get that chance to see that, it fed my heart. I just hugged him and I didn't want to let go. And I thanked him so much. There were other wonderful people who would come up and ask me a question, and I would answer it. And they began to talk about how they felt. And it was so wonderful to see that many people just come up and, you know, say, this is how I feel. I met another young man. I think he's probably in his 40s. He and his wife and son. And he said, he didn't know who I was at that point, and we just started talking. And he would ask me questions, I would answer him. And he said, I knew in my heart that a lot of what I was saying about all of this was not the thing that I was supposed to see. And so I made that connection with them. That's why we do this podcast. That's why I do, and several others do, conferences. We're not out there to prove anything exists. We're out there to share what we're feeling, what we're seeing, and planting seeds. And that's the most important thing to me, is doing that. And to get to see seeds I had planted standing there in front of me, full of love and acceptance for everybody. Oh my gosh, I walked around big time grin, so, because my heart, it was smiling big. But the conference was really awesome.
Yeah, that's just and I don't know, I've only been to one conference, but I've been to a lot of different conferences in my life, but I've been to only one Sasquatch conference. They have just some kind of energy there that the Sasquatch are around, the enthusiasm around. It's just such a nice thing to go to a conference, to go to. And even when the people, like, I went to this one in Georgia, and there was like the speakers weren't like blockbusters. They were like some people in the neighborhood, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe who was this one guy was from Tennessee, which was only about 5 miles away. But anyway, but it was still the energy there, and made friends and
Yep.
got cards and stuff. There's something special about it.
Yeah, you the conferences aren't really about the speakers. Oh yeah, you're going to see things and get to see different perspectives and everything, but the conferences are about the connections that you make when you're there, that your energy is compatible with, because we're all fed with that. And I think that that's exactly how it should be.
Yeah, and sometimes magic stuff happens. You've been to these conferences and this all kind of magic stuff happens. And who was somebody else who's um it's just kind of mind-blowing stuff. The Sasquatch come along, around and visit people that you know
Mm.
you drive a few hundred miles or across state and then the Sasquatch are there waiting for you. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yep. Yeah. They're, the conferences started out years ago totally devoid of woo. uh, there were a few of us that were at conferences that still, told it like it is for us. And but it's changing. It really is changing in such a good way that that's like the conference. I mean, we had everybody from they believe that they're an ape, flesh and blood, to those of us who, are, well, I mean, heck, I'm the immaculate mother of woo. So, you know, from one end to the other. And that was awesome. Everybody was respectful to everybody, enjoyed talking to each other. It it's what a conference is supposed to be. Exactly. So that everybody accepts everybody no matter what. It's not just the choir is there, it's the population is there. And I love that.
And that's the other thing. These conferences are phenomenal. I mean, there's some small town will decide to have a Sasquatch conference, and before they know it, in 5 years, there's like the whole town's packed out.
Yes. Yep. That's true.
I think uh, people like conferences, all kinds of conferences, motorcycle conference
Yep.
or
Get together and share ideas. And it's awesome because people come looking to share something with somebody, regardless of what it is. When you go to a conference, you have something that's happened that you feel like you would like to share. And when you know that people are going to be there that you can share that with, regardless of what it is, it, it's it's really a special thing.
yeah. But we really kind of covered a lot of ground in this video, didn't we? In this show, it feels kind of normal though. I like the idea that we actually don't run on thoughts. We run on Wi-Fi. That everything happens by Wi-Fi. That if it didn't work by Wi-Fi, then they couldn't understand your thoughts. You know what I mean?
Got permanent internet.
We are permanent internet, right? And to get my hand to
Yep.
do this, that's Wi-Fi. It's not me, my mind going up, stop, down, stop. I'm not doing that. It's just going like that. That's Wi-Fi.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we are connected in. We are not disconnected.
If you're getting mind speak, it's because you're on the same Wi-Fi.
Yes. Yep. I was going to bring this up too, because I know it's happening to everybody else, or at least a whole lot of people, is this synchronicity of energies. Um, I'll give you an example. Matthew could be watching something on the TV, YouTube, more than likely. And I'm over doing something else. And I've written something down, and then I look up at the TV, and someone has used that very thing that I wrote down. It could even be like a word. I'm writing a word. Let's say change. I've written that down, change, and then I'm going to write that word is spoken on YouTube or wherever. And it happens over and over and over again. Or even the other day, we were sitting there and I was looking at my phone and I was writing down this recipe. And as I get to the word recipe, someone on YouTube says, and the recipe for this is, and so those things are happening over and over and over. And
Synchronicity.
yes, it is. And I know that that's happening with other people. You're thinking something and someone else says it, or you just pick up something and it's on that, or just in any number of ways, this is happening. And Matthew and I have been, when it happens, we note or we say, I was just, and then that. And it's really cool. And no, whoever's not listening to me, other than the universe, has connected me with the universe. And if we're, connected in that synchronicity of life, we're going to see all of those similarities that are going on. So I just wanted to bring that up. And if any of you guys are experiencing that, write it in chat or in our group, the Pork and Bean Show group. Uh, just let us know, because I would really be interested in seeing how much of that is going on. I would bet a lot.
I have a special announcement that the grand poobah of Pork Cunningham is actually watching the show incognito. He's
Ooh,
incognito.
he's not
He's
incognito now.
cross-dressing and watching the show.
I love you, Tot.
Yeah, this is in honor of the late great,
Pork.
the great Pork. Yeah, I guess he's smoked pork now because it's well preserved. But he
Oh
told me
my
that
God.
my mic's too low. That's because I go back like I have to come back like this and talk.
Ah,
Who cares about what I say anyway? Everybody came here to see Arla.
oh no, no.
You're the
If it wasn't for
star.
you, Arla wouldn't be here. So that's how it goes.
You just get around so much. I mean, you had that before you went to the conference. You had, I think, one or two or maybe four different
Okay.
shows that you were on. And one show you were on twice. And then the conference, and then the conference was only like what, last weekend or something. It was
Yes,
so
I think
you're out
really.
here co-hosting your own show. It's like
Uh,
this
so,
is
so much for cutting,
Arla World.
so much for cutting back. I've always found out if you empty that cup, it's going to get filled up twice as much. But it kind of goes in waves. I did, let's see, Bigfoot Outlaw, Grizzly, and
And Barb, what's her name?
Barb
Barb?
had me
Yeah.
on. And then I think I did Not So Perfect Bigfoot, and
That's actually was not too bad, actually.
yeah,
Yeah,
we're
nice lady or nice
yeah,
people.
yeah. So it runs in cycles, because someone will see you on, and well, we need to, and I know how that goes, and you do too, when you see somebody that that's on a podcast. Well, well, boy, they'd be good to get on a podcast. I will be back on Not So Perfect Bigfoot at some time, and on Bigfoot Outlaw, I think August the 1st. I'll be back on there. And then I'll be here twice a month as of now. So
If we can,
we'll
fingers
see.
crossed, if we can keep the interest up.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you
But
know what, I
I
don't do that. It was a struggle with Brian and me when we do a lot of open mics, and it's like you would think people would want to come on, but really they want to watch more than
yeah.
they want to come on. And
So,
or that they're pretty sophisticated, they know it all, and it's sort of like old. Yeah, they don't want to
oh
make
my gosh.
they don't have
But
to make the effort because they're like seasoned veterans.
well, we all have to start somewhere. And your story is valid and needs to be shared. I know we saw some in our pork and beans group here recently of people of their first time really sharing things. And, and I knew that we were going to be doing this, and my mind's going, oh, wow, they would be cool to get on that. And then today, I was in Barb's group, and I had announced that we were doing this, and that I was going to be looking for people to come on as guests. And I was thinking, it'd be cool if we could get Barb and some of their people from that group on and share some experiences. And at the same time, I'm writing this Barb post. It would be cool if we could have some of our people come on to share our experiences. And I had just written the very same thing that she said. So it was like the universe took over there and said, yeah, this is what we're going to do. And everybody loves uh Barb and her awesome group of people, and Goldie. And so many remember her as Barb and Gabby for several years. And now she's Barb and Goldie. And she's on YouTube. Look her up. Lots of cool videos and stuff. And if you're wanting to understand about paranormal Bigfoot, there is a documentary out, Flash of Beauty,
Well,
Paranormal
yeah, I
Bigfoot.
was just thinking that here. I was just thinking about that as you were talking. I was thinking about that. Wouldn't it be great to have them on and just have
Well, we'll just see. We'll just see.
Get Tobe out
I
there and
may
have a
just,
little go around.
yep, go through the list of the people that were on, Flash of Beauty, because
They
several
did
of them
something
I
world
know.
class, that's for sure.
Yes, they
That
did.
one, not only did they make these two fabulash movies, but
Yes.
then they went back and they put the full interviews of
Yeah.
everybody that they did. And that's like, and it was done with style, quality. It was,
Yes.
had
Yes.
panache or whatever you want to call it. It
Yep.
was good work.
Yep. It was respectfully done to everybody. And that's such an important thing. Both of them, Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed, and Flash of Beauty, Paranormal Bigfoot, can be watched for free on YouTube now. So if you haven't seen them, go to YouTube and watch them while you can. It's real people sharing real stories, and there's even science on it. And, some people need that, and I understand that, and it's there as well. So yeah, awesome done. You'll be hearing more from them, I'm sure. And it's I feel very blessed to have had my
Well,
part
I wonder what
in
their
that.
backstory is because, they were like filmmakers and all that kind of stuff. And then
Yeah.
now they're still filmmakers, I'm sure. It's like it must have other
They are.
projects. they sure spent a lot of time on the Sasquatch topic. I think
Yeah.
they got the bug along with
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the,
yeah. Yeah,
the
there were
video.
things they wanted to know. And, so, and it evidently had been for quite a while. And so, their whole thing of learning through this whole thing has been phenomenal. And, they have their own stories as well. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, there's lots of really cool people out there now
And
that
that's
have
what was
so much to
phenomenal about
share.
their stuff. It was two videos with no fear, no monsters.
No,
No
no,
fear
no.
and no monsters.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the way it needs to be.
Yeah. They didn't sell the thought of these documentaries as fear. And people like fear. They like to be afraid. I don't, I had, well, I've never much had a lot of fear in my life. As I've said, I was that little girl that heard something on her bed, and instead of covering her head, she leaned over the edge of the bed and looked under to see what was making the noise. So, that fear stops you. It stops you from understanding actually what's really going on. And you'll if you have a fear, you're going to back away, and you're not going to open, to understand. But people like that adrenaline rush. I mean, I can get an adrenaline rush trying to climb a tree now. If I could.
Got an adrenaline rush just drinking my super tea. I tell you, it's something. I may not be able to sleep tonight because I'm all high on drugs.
Well, I actually
It was
have to
tea and
say,
it hadn't had sugar too.
you hit it well.
Yeah.
You and your black tea.
Well, this guy, Tom and Droso, Drosus, you know him, Tom Droitus
and Andrit,
and
ANDRITOS.
TS TSOS.
Okay.
Yeah, he has these experiences and he talks about it on air too. And there's a lot of people who have experiences and they talk
Yes.
about them, I think that's just a good thing.
Yeah, it is. I had
This topic is big enough for every view that there is,
yes,
every
it
kind of
is.
angle and every kind of way
Yep.
of looking at it.
Yeah. And, other than the Sasquatch, because everything's connected. But I had an interesting thing happen on Facebook this past week. I totally watched the news feed for a while, and I didn't go, oh my gosh, yuck. I loved it. All the stuff I was seeing posted, minus the ads, there was awesome people out there posting awesome stuff. And I used to hardly ever go to the news feed. I just stayed away from it. But thank you all for posting all that really awesome stuff in the news feed. That I just love it. Whoever you are, thank you so much.
I agree. I'm like one of these computer guys who sits in a well in the spare bedroom in my son's house. But yeah, if you watch the news feed, because I have other groups that that I have
Mm-hmm.
to take care of, and I have to supply a lot of memes. Uh, so I'm always like glancing around. But there are some days where the whole entire feed will be high vibration, funny,
Yes.
good
Yes.
truth, morally correct, everything, and just fulfilling and uplifting. Yeah, and you can just watch it, you could just watch
Yep,
these, and they come in waves. Maybe it's two
yep.
days, or then maybe there's some kind of something will fluster it up, and it'll be kind of confusing for a few days. But
Yep.
there's been a huge shift in
Mm-hmm.
in Facebook from the time it started until now.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I and part of that I attribute to the people I'm friends with as well. Um, but just the whole vibration of it was just so awesome. I
Inner
got a
circle.
nose itch today.
A nose itch. Does that mean somebody's talking about you?
Well, my grandfather used to say, "Your nose is itching, somebody's coming with a hole," or "Your nose itches, somebody's coming with a hole in his britches." So I don't know. I mean, my grandparents and my parents were full of stuff and saying stuff. So
Well, I think we can put this one in a successful column. Uh,
awesome. Thank you all for listening. We're
yeah,
just
it was good. I mean, you know, we don't offer much, but this is what you get. What you see is what you get. Yeah.
That's right. You get one
Pork and
crazy,
beans is good for
colorful
your
woman
soul.
with, yep, yep. You get a porkless beans.
Pork and
Actually,
beans.
his energy was definitely here.
He's
And
he's a, he's a lurker. He's a lurker now. He snuck off and borrowed his wife's account, and then so he's like a transvestite lurker looking at.
oh my god.
He dressed up as a woman and pretended to be a woman.
Oh
Come see
yeah,
what we're doing.
we do love him though.
I wish he could
That's
jump. He'll jump on one of these days. It's just
yeah.
just for revenge because we talk about him so much.
That's my tot you're talking about there. Oh my goodness. What
How's
a
Bob
blessing.
Cantrell doing? I saw him on another show.
Yeah, he's done some panel work, I think, on the Bigfoot Outlaw. I watched him a couple of weeks ago. He was on the panel of discussion there. Um, and he's a wealth of factual knowledge about this whole thing. Um, gosh, I his mind and his retention of remembering things is amazing details. It just, I mean, I don't think anyone knows any more about the truth of the Patterson Gimlin film other than Bob himself. Um, Tom just, it's amazing the time he spent in doing all of this stuff and looking at this from the physical of this, which is so important as well. So yeah, he's as Matthew says, he uses them $2 words. So,
There's another guy I'd like to know what was going on with him was Kiwani Lapsaritis. That guy is such a I mean he was such a an icebreaker for
hmm
years and years
yeah,
and years. He was the
yeah, he
icebreaker.
was.
He took the hit for the woo and for the Sasquatch.
Yep.
And when I was first coming along to what the Sasquatch was all about, I really looked towards him because, what he was talking about, I was feeling, is that they were good people.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are heart centric. They fundamentally care about humans, and if you're a friend, it's really a big deal to be friends with the Sasquatch. It's a
Yep.
big honor. It's a big,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you remember Thomas Hughes?
Thomas Hughes,
He,
he was the one that got me into this.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think he was the second podcast I did when I came into this. Oh, I'm trying to think of his first name. His last name was Abney. He had a podcast where they talked about um, woo and things as, just a normal thing. And his was actually the first podcast I ended up on, and then I ended up on Thomas's and some others who kind of accepted it. And then I ended up on some that totally didn't accept it, but were respectful to me and wanting me to share, my experiences. Um, so it's been a long road of a lot of things, um, and it's been interesting. And no, never once in my life before Kashima came did I ever, ever, ever entertain the thought that I'd be doing what I do.
Did you ever hear Thomas Hughes' story about the turtle and the mind speak? Mind speak and
Yes, I think
yeah.
so.
That's
I,
what
I,
that's what
yeah,
got me kicked off is it was something he said. I because I actually called him up a couple of times, and I didn't care that much at all about Sasquatch. I was just asking him questions about how his mind worked. That's what fascinated me. But that story, and it was the story of him finding this big giant water turtle, snapping turtle, whatever it was, and then and getting this mind speak. That was a great story, right? And that's what hooked me in. And the question that I had was, what kind of mind could you have to be able to talk to your plants? Because it was like I was from Texas, and he's from Texas, and he's talking to plants, and I don't talk to plants. So I'm like, why is he talking to plants? You know? And but it's because of that that throughout the years I've been given three different live turtles from the Sasquatch. Once in
that's awesome.
Miami, and once in Miami, and then once when we got here. That was a great story. Once when we got here to Savannah, I went out. I had the feeling to go out and connect with them, and it's just around a park, and the park's surrounded by like a little water that goes around it. So I was walking in this woods, right? There's like about 50 yards in between us, a baseball, swimming kind of a recreation place and the park. So I was walking in that, right? It's like, you know how it is in with like a lot of leaf litter, not where people walk. It's like you go off trail.
Hmm.
So I was off trail. I was wandering around in there looking for signs. I found a couple little signs. I thought, oh, that's really cool. They've been around here. They're here. And and so I'm going back to the trail that I walked in on, and I look down, and there's one of these little turtles. These little turtles is only about this big, right? It's only about that big, and it was in the leaf litter, on top of the branches. My foot would go down. The whole top of my foot was under the leaf litter. I said, just how springy that is. I'm thinking, and this little turtle was wet. And we're about 50 yards. I'm about 50 yards from the water. And I'm going, how does this turtle who can't even crawl over like one of the branches, how is he wet? And and I'm not even on a trail. There's no trail there. So there's no, I'm just wandering around in the woods there looking at stuff. And how could it be right under me, just right under my foot? You know what I mean? They do things like how could it had to be. There's no way that a little turtle this big could crawl through the leaf litter, you
Yeah.
know, uh, of a
Yeah,
nice
at that
thick
precise moment.
at that
Yeah.
and still be wet.
Yeah.
He would have to walk up through the grass, up across the hill, and, and then through the leaf litter, and then get 50 yards into the bush, into the, underbrush. Yeah. And just the last one that I got was just down the street from my house, was this fabulous box turtle.
Mhm. Yeah, they're special. I know I have a lot of them here, and I've had my encounters with the turtle. So that's
Well, that
special.
turtle,
Thank
the
you.
reason why it's significant to me, because they know that I have this thing in my head about the turtle story,
Yep.
which is they knew that that was my first introduction to the Sasquatch people.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. They know us so much better than we even, know ourselves. And that's what they hope to do, is to help us to know who we are.
Yeah, that's the thing, and to know who we are and to know
Mhm.
who our relations are. You know,
Yeah.
I got this. They introduced me to the water and rock and air and fire. The actual elementals that are actually in this world.
Yep.
So
They are.
that's our relations. Well, all right. I guess we should reluctantly.
Ah,
Now, if Brian would jump on, we could go for another. We could go for another hour. You see,
oh,
it's 2 hours now, and
yep. 2 hours is a good time.
2 hours is a good time. Yeah. Well,
Yep.
I've got kidneys of a 74-year-old man. So
I'm
two
thankful
hours
I
is
don't.
2 hours is
Oh my gosh, that's your limit. Oh my
pretty,
gosh.
pretty much. You gotta take it as it is.
That's right.
All right. Well,
Being 74 definitely has its perks.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know if wet underwear is a perk or not. Let me think about that.
Well, I mean, you can wet them, so I'd guess it's better than not being able to. Oh my gosh, we are digressing here.
I know.
But
Good
that's
thing
the
we have
truth.
good friends. Positive vibe, vibrational frequency energy. Coastal Chick's still hanging with us, and so is this guy Tom. So anyway,
Hey,
we're gonna go. Well, I think we're
yeah,
gonna go before we lose our sweetness. I'm so happy that we're gonna at least have another show. So we'll
yeah,
just play it one show at a time and see how it goes. All right.
yep, yep. I've got a few people on the line, so we'll see where that goes.
So bye bye everybody in pork and beans land, and we're gonna see you at the 20th of next month.
This month,
20th this week.
this
This
is
month.
June.
This month in June. 2 weeks from today.
That's right.